All right, I would love to hear some of the things that are coming up for folks or folks talked about. We'll make some notes. Yeah. Not all at once. Anybody like to share some of the things that were coming up?
Maybe I'll just share real quick that in my experience of going from being a community acupuncturist to working in a private setting, there was a huge shift that I experienced in that, all of a sudden my services were not as accessible as they had been, and that was very difficult for me to deal with at the beginning, and it continues to be difficult. But the clinic that I work in really listened to those concerns and was able to implement a lot of changes so that we can see many more people that might not be able to afford what our regular rates are. So we've done a lot of work around opening things up to different socioeconomic classes and groups of people that probably would be like, oh my God, no, I can't go there. So I think that it's, of course, like most of the acupuncturists here are community acupuncturists, but I do find that it's also kind of like exciting to me in a way to get creative with how like other, because there's so many different ways to practice acupuncture, and that we can still work towards making things as accessible as possible in very different settings.
Awesome. Do you mind sharing maybe like one or two like tangible examples so people can hear maybe what are some of the things you're doing?
Yeah. So we were doing community acupuncture events once a month at the clinic, and we decided because we were seeing a majority of our patients were white women. We're like, we want to open up one of these monthly events to just BIPOC artists and activists.
Cool.
And it was just going to be free. Usually, people would come with a sliding scale payment and stuff. But so through doing that event, we were able to invite these people back for private treatments, and then also implement reduced and free treatments based on what that person's particular need is. So people are able to continue to come and get care that they need.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just always think it's good when like people hear actual like real life examples of like,
yeah, totally.
We can make that happen.
Totally helpful. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
I think another thing is, knowing what other resources there are, because we can start giving back and forth. So, like a specific example I have for abilities. Sometimes I have people who can't get upstairs, so I know I can send them to Jessica, for example, or somebody with an elevator, So I think also, just knowing we can't do it all.
Yeah.
But, we keep working on trying to, open it up as much as possible. But in a metro area, it's also a huge advantage to let people know, that somebody else can do this better than me. Check this out.
So that like having a network of folks is like important, right? Because like you're saying, like if I can't meet your need, but I know somebody else who can, and that's really important, which can be like you're saying, like in the metro area, it's easier to do that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I like about the whole attitude in polka is that, we're not trying to like be our own little kingdom, of, trying to, like, I can do it all for you and I'm the best, it's like, we know that we gotta, there's more, more need than what any one of us can do.
Yeah.
Abundance.
Yeah.
Totally. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Other things that people wanted to share?
I feel like
like I have a lot of barrier being rural with socioeconomic status. There's less of a range, but it's also so much more normal for the patients that I see to have medical assistance, or especially elderly people, and I feel like that also is that sort of element that I feel like I am pretty blocked from treating some people because they are on such a strict income with their medical care.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for me the next step is actually learning how to get in network and take insurance and not and it's helpful to hear that you offer reduced rates. I don't know if that can be within that. Like it gets really confusing and I feel super overwhelmed by all of that when the goal is to do something simple.
Yeah.
And I still hear people be like, oh well, I can't do that. You know, like and I can't I want to let them know that they can come anyway, but I can't figure out where or when to have that conversation because I'm not even in my own clinic. I'm in someone else's space all the time.
Totally.
That's my messy
Yeah.
problem. It's those two, and the other one I have is ethnicity, because I know there's an immigrant community in the area, and I feel like it's miles and miles away from me being able to figure out how to open it up to them when I'm still so new, and it's already hard to make it accessible for the people that even know I'm there. But I had a great idea offered to me about just starting.
Yeah, I've
So,
been in business for
petition
6
for
years. I've done it all myself and not a business-minded person, so I feel it's so important for us to be connected to each other because I find so much help from other acupuncturists and from groups, like on Facebook, and it's so much better when we all work together to share ideas. It's everything to me, really. 'Cause it's a lot of hard work to own a business and be a practitioner.
Anything else people want to offer?
Something we didn't talk about at all, but I should throw out is that like this Somali woman just emailed me about like coming out to her new place and like handing out business cards so she can send people to me. And it's really frustrating that Minnesota is a nada state, because it would be so great to just train her to do ear needles, and then she could treat her own community and not have a cultural or language barrier. And so like, but just knowing too, like what a giant hill that would be to try to get the acupuncturists in the state on board to try to change the legislation when they're so like, whatever the word is, turf warfare, clingy about their needles.
Individual.
Yeah.
Here it comes again.
Yeah, right.
Theme. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's huge. And something we kind of chatted about, like, what's the balance between the work that you do in your clinic and then also trying to engage the community outside the clinic while also maintaining right? So it's just like, do I go, does the clinic do things where it's like, oh, we offer reduced rates or we have these special events? Or do we maintain what we've been doing in the clinic and then like as an individual, you go into the community and offer services for free or, monetarily, the clinic monetarily supports other efforts or things like that. That's a balance. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I think it's kind of like what we've been talking about. Like, what are our commitments? What are the things that allow us to... the other thing is like, we have to pay our bills. We have to feed our families. We have to take care of us as well. And I think the flip side of some of the ways that I've seen liberation acupuncture be taken in ways that feel a little dangerous is kind of like glorifying the struggle, right? Like I've seen people being like, well, it's just hard and like that's part of it, and you kind of take the hit so that you're in solidarity with oppressed peoples. But it's just like, if that's what liberation was, why would I want to get liberated? Why would I believe you and want to get liberated if you're just telling me it's going to be shitty, right? And also, like we were saying, like being oppressed is a positionality, and so part of part of, Frery's big thing is like we have to, political education and teaching people about where they fit in that system is important because then they understand that they're working to get out of that. Right? And not like, well, this is all it's ever going to be, so this is what I'm dealt, right? As opposed to like, no, we actually have the power of like building networks and communities so that we can get out of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think we have to be mindful of the ways that like we glorify martyrdom or glorify like this scarcity mentality, right? Which is real. It comes from a real place. Like fear is real, but like what would it be like if we just said that we were afraid? Instead of being like, nope, can't show that we're afraid, gotta preserve at all costs, right? So I think part of that is too, is like making room for like the vulnerability of that as well. Are there any last things that people want to share? We're at about time, so I just want to respect that. We get in and out of time. Even though time is a social construction, we could talk about that another time.
Well, if anyone has cards to exchange,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
For sure.
I have a few for each person.
Cool.
They were wondering.
I brought my cards. Okay, so what I would like to do as we close out is I would love for us to go around and for you to either share like a one-word checkout, like this is how I'm feeling after today, or if you've thought about it enough, which it's okay if you haven't, you're like, what is like one thing I'm going to try to commit to with my practice after being in this space. So either like just a one-word checkout or a commitment that you have moving forward. And if you have both, even better.
I'm gonna work through each category.
Great.
This is great.
Sweet.
I'm so glad I came to this today. It's really, I'm in kind of a transitional period because my lease is coming up and I don't want to stay in the same building, and it just brought on a slew of anxiety for me. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. Totally.
And this is a great compass for
Cool.
me to help figure that out.
Yeah.
I think.
Great. Awesome. Which way do we want to go in the circle? Or we can popcorn.
Pass it to the left. I'm afraid. There it goes.
You're gonna really, on a checkout thing, you're gonna, you know how.
Put the camera
It's
down.
not, it's down. It is down. Yeah, it's down. The microphone. It's just the microphone.
I hate these things.
Here, I'll pause it. I'm pausing.